Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. I am so pleased to have with me in studio Susan Morrell, author of The Pleasure of My Company, which I think is such a telling title. I love it, and I'm happy to have you here. I had the pleasure of getting to speak to you once on our Mountain Views show, and that was a lot of fun. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Yes, yeah? I'm enjoying. You know, the summer is winding down. I know, but I'm hanging on, and like everybody else, enjoying it.
That's right. You say you had the pleasure of your company for all summer.
I did.
And
yes.
how was that?
It wasn't too bad.
Not bad, right?
I did vacation in the spring, so it does let me stay here the rest of the summer.
Where did you go off to this spring?
Sedona, Arizona for a week.
How was that?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
You didn't go out and stay in a sweat lodge or anything,
No,
did you?
I've done that here, but there it was just, you know, resort. I had my brother out from Ohio and his wife and daughter for his 50th birthday. I treated him, so we just went and just spent the week at the pool.
That sounds terrific.
A little bit of hiking and stuff like that, but it was just a nice getaway.
Did you start working on another book while you were there?
No, but you get ideas. You know, you're always taking notes, thinking about stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this one because I have to tell you, I'm a big fan. This is one of my favorites. And the reason that I favor this book so much is because of the message, the simple message that it says right here, which is that if you don't care about you, if you don't really take care of you first, you know, and love you, no one else is going to. And that's really what it really, I mean, that's, am I right? I'm not missing anything, right?
No, that's absolutely it. I mean, I found when I started gathering information to do this book, it was more in hindsight, looking at what I had done and people commenting on things I've done in my life, traveling on my own and this and that, and recognizing that if you're not comfortable doing stuff with yourself and by yourself and for yourself, you're not bringing much to the table for your relationships either.
Exactly.
So it's not about being a hermit or secluding yourself and being that kind of a person.
It's actually about quite the opposite.
Going in so you can bring more out. Exactly.
Yeah, it's quite the opposite. It's learning to get by, meeting people on your own, traveling on your own, being alone for a little bit of time. So there's, you know, being able to think for yourself, take care of yourself. There's a lot of things that, I mean, we kind of got into that world, right? Where we're, I always think this is kind of interesting. We drive our own little car with our own little cell phone, talking to our own little people about our own little problems, and we don't focus on much of anything else. And you see this little compartmentalized world driving down the road all the time, right? And the thing that's interesting about that is what it leaves is this absolute need to be around everyone else the rest of the time. And really, that's what that cell phone is doing, is connecting you to all of them, because I've got to have them with me, because they need to know where I am. And so it may look solitary, but it's exactly the opposite. Exactly.
I have a little blurb in there about it because I'd written the book and finished it a few years ago, and then social media has just taken off so much that I said, well, I've got to at least comment on this too. And you're absolutely right. It seems like, oh, I'm on my own, I'm texting, I'm this and that, but you're still trying to connect. You're not thinking. And I find people who say that when they're by themselves, like, I'm a meditator, I can't meditate my thoughts and this and that. They said, well, then let your thoughts, what is it you don't want to think about? What voice inside of you are you afraid to listen to sometimes, see? So a lot of the solitude that I talk about in here is about the time within yourself and about how valuable that can be. I mean, getting in touch with, when we were kids, we used to daydream and play and think of things, and we don't do that so much more as adults.
I don't think I've ever seen my kids laying on the front lawn watching the sky and the clouds go by. Do you remember? We did that all the time.
Absolutely.
I always feel like they're missing out on a little bit of just time.
It's like we constantly have to be doing or connected, like you say, and there is a value, a great value, to just taking the time to just be with yourself and by yourself and discover yourself.
You know, I talked about this with you a few minutes ago about the cover.
Yes.
And it's reminiscent of another cover, and I rememred it too. So tell us about that.
That's Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh, Charles Lindbergh's widow.
A terrific book.
I have a quote at the beginning of the book in there from her, a segment of her book about being alone and solitude.
Not surprising you got some inspiration from her because of that. Because she really did spend a lot of her life alone.
She did, and the book itself is about a summer she spent on an island by herself. And she basically uses seashells that she finds along the shore and talks about different stages in a woman's life, mostly, because that's her point of view.
Of course.
And just her reflections on that. And it's been a book I've given out as gifts over the years. I've got dog-eared copies. I've got special copies of it that I just have them up kind of to show. It's one of my favorites, obviously.
I want to talk about an odd, let's just say do an odd experiment here.
Okay.
Something that's in the book, though. Dining alone.
Yes.
People are so afraid of this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Dining alone, going to a movie alone. This is something a lot of people are very afraid of.
Yeah.
Tell me kind of give me the rundown of what should happen with someone who feels comfortable dining by themselves.
Okay, there's different ways. Are you dining on your vacation where you don't know anybody, or a business trip? That seems to be easier because you figure, well, I have to go eat, and
right.
There's nobody knows me anyway, so yes. You have that. I think the more discomfort is even if you try to go out around town here locally by yourself, because you're going to run into, especially around here, you're going to run into somebody you know, and then you have this voice inside. What'll they think? I'm by myself. What message is that sending to everybody? Because we are a society that we don't want to be seen as being alone. What does that say about us if we're alone? So as far as the technique, I give some examples in there.
Yeah, you even have one for in between bites.
In between bites. I had done it, just take your time and relax and just think about what you're doing. Think about the experience of eating.
Right. The food. The
food itself is a sensual experience. I had an experience at a workshop that I talk about years ago where the moderator had all of us sit quiet for almost 2 hours as we ate our very simple meal. But you don't have to do that in a restaurant necessarily.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with interacting with the wait staff and the people around you.
Sure.
Some of it is just people watching.
Yeah.
I said, look at the different people that you're seeing at. There's a couple over there that haven't spoken since they sat down. Have they had an argument? Put some little scenarios in your head, make some stories up.
Yeah.
Or are they so comfortable in their space together that they don't need to even voice anything? They're just comfortable by themselves.
Maybe they've had this experience of eating alone many times.
See? So they're eating alone together.
I was thinking.
That's right.
That is such an interesting thing.
And maybe that guy by himself over there, maybe he's a spy or something. Make up fun stuff just to take your mind away and distract yourself from that discomfort.
The funny part is how often you might be close to on track. I worked as a sushi chef for a couple of years. I took a little sabbatical and became a sushi chef. And I always thought it was interesting that the stories, because you definitely come up with them when you're working there. You get very used to this.
Okay.
And it was funny how often I was close. I was never right on.
Really?
Yeah. But every now and then you were close. And it was very interesting to see that interaction and actually realize, oh my, I was predicting they're fighting and they are. This is not ideal.
That's right.
Very interesting that you might want to do that. Sure. I think people watching is a great thing, and clearly that's the thing you're afraid everybody's doing to you. So why not join in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the book is terrific. You had a signing over at the Paint Mixer not too
that was back in
long
April.
ago. Back in April. How did that go? Tell me about that.
That went really well.
It's a fun place.
Oh, that's one of my favorite. Nikki has created, and her staff there have created this wonderful, fun environment. And you don't even need how to paint.
Right.
You just go in and have fun.
Talk about an experience for someone doing things on their own. Right there.
Yeah, exactly.
That is you go in there alone, but you come out with friends.
Well, what was fun with that was I had gone in on an open studio and created a painting of a nautilus shell like this on a beach. I just wanted something, And Nikki and I had talked about maybe doing a signing, so she said, we'll just use yours. I said, oh my, okay. So we used mine as the model. But what I love about it was watching my painting come out into another 20 different paintings.
All a little different.
But each one, and what I love, there was a mother and daughter there who had brought their own special shell, a shell the mother had given the daughter at one point. So instead of putting a nautilus shell, they put the conch shell in. So they made it really personal.
Oh, wow.
So I loved those little personal touches people were doing. And then I was there. I didn't paint that day. I was there to kind of walk around, and I had books there, and everybody who came got a book and a signed book for them.
That's
One
terrific.
woman said, I brought my sister. You know, she's a single mom and she's now empty nesting, and I'm trying to get her to go out. I thought this sounded like a perfect opportunity.
Perfect for her.
Exactly. So
good grief.
The audience for this is that kind of someone who finds themselves in a single, alone position, maybe through divorce or they're widowed or whatever. The kids have gone off, and they're not used to going out on their own and being by themselves.
My mom is in this situation. A brief story. She, she was divorced many years ago and focused on raising us first before anything else, and never really found the right companion for a long period of time after that.
Right.
She moved to Florida to be with my sister, and after 3 or 4 years, my sister moved.
Oh no!
And all of a sudden, she's
alone.
This has just happened to her, and she's going through this right now. And it is interesting to see her. She's doing quite well because I think she had the prep time necessary, right?
Yeah.
She'd been there for a while. She's been alone most of her most of her life.
Right.
But nonetheless, I think when you realize, oh wait, no one's around me nearby, even
right,
that it starts to that might be a little scarier. But she seems to be doing very well with it. I need to send her your book. Certainly,
I'd love
that would be a good thing. But I love, as you said, this one woman had the need. It's sort of that whole thing with books. This is what books do. They fall into the lap of you right when you need them.
I hope so.
And it seems like that probably happened for her, so that's excellent.
Good.
Well, I'm pleased also to hear that the Park Record will be writing up an article that comes out tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Scott wrote an article for me, so I'm excited to see that. It's about the book and about, I'm also as a motivational speaker to go out and talk about the subject of the book and other topics that I've done workshops on and everything. So he's going to help me promote that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a terrific thing. And as I said many times to you, learning to be by yourself is probably the first step.
Yeah.
The one that we knew when we were little, we forget about when we're older.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to go back to that, and it is so important.
Yeah.
If someone wants to find your book, where is the next place that they can find it? Will you be out signing somewhere soon?
I'll be signing this Sunday from noon to 2 at Atticus.
Okay.
The bookstore is on Lower Main Street. So if you're coming for Park Silly Sunday or not, just come and visit me there. And I'm going to be doing a signing and another painting on September 8th at the Paint Mixer.
Excellent.
So if you buy a book Sunday at Atticus, you're also eligible for a drawing I'm going to give away and an entry to the Park Paint Mixer.
Oh,
for the
that's
8th,
great.
So somebody could get to come for nothing.
That is terrific. Susan Morrell, your website and Facebook address.
My website is www.facebook.com/Speaking of Enrichment.
Okay.
That's the name of my business, Speaking of Enrichment.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want to do. I want to challenge my audiences or teach them about how to enrich their lives.
Exactly.
Whether it's alone, whether it's through creative elements, whatever. It's about enriching your life, however that shows up for you.
Absolutely. Well, as always, it's so much fun to have some time with you.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not alone, I like to spend time with you. The rest of the time, I'm just fine by myself. I carry on all kinds of conversations.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that element of being alone. We won't go into that.
One can imagine.
Maybe that's my next book, When You Go Alone Too Far.
Right?
Yeah.
When you're alone too much like Joe. All right. Well, we will be back to show you some of the events that we've been to recently, some of outdoor retailers, as well as much more. All of that coming up here on Park City Television's Mountain Morning Show.